Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Today it's Friday again, and this time it's Parashat Tazria Metzora. Today I'm joined by two special guests. We have Meitali. Say hello, Meitali.
Hello.
And we have Livia. Say hello, Livia. Hello. And Meitali and Livia are going to join me today in discussing the very, very curious question of the parasha, the subject of the parasha of Tazria and Metzora. The subject at hand is tzara'at, which is one of those very weird topics that everyone reads in the parasha, and in this case it's two whole parashiot nearly, all of Tazria and most of Metzora, and yet it's always very hard to pin down what exactly is going on. In short, tzara'at is some sort of skin disease that is brought upon by some sort of spiritual malaise. It's not exactly leprosy. It's not exactly some sort of, plague or something of the sort. It is a whole question, and the medical community to this day loves to discuss exactly how it would fit into the known medical conditions that we have. But tzara'at is definitely a thing throughout the whole of Tanakh, and it seems to be coming, according to Chazal, it afflicts a person who is guilty of hubris, of ga'ava, or, as Chazal very famously say, speaking lashon hara, speaking badly of other people, slander and libel and all of those kind of things, and in essence just being a bit of a gossip. That is against Jewish values. We don't believe in talking about people behind their back and talking negatively of people in general, and that is what we call in Jewish tradition lashon hara, and that is the cause, the most famous cause for tzara'at. What is tzara'at specifically? Well, actually, if we read in the parasha, we will find that tzara'at is some sort of boil or rash or red kind of element of the skin, and there's lots of different types of tzara'at. It involves hair, it involves the beard, sometimes it involves the hair of the head. The hair on the head. Where's your hair on your head? Where's the hair on your head? Yeah, on the top. Nachon. Where's your beard? No, where's Daddy's beard? Yeah, Nachon. Baruch Hashem, I don't have tzara'at in the beard. And fascinatingly, at the end of the parasha, we also find tzara'at afflicting clothes, mostly actually some sort of leather clothes, or houses, the walls of the house. And I want to break down exactly what is the symbolism behind all of this. Okay? Meitali, you're making funny faces. So, I would like to argue that the symbolism behind all of these three things, Meitali, would you like to get down or would you like to stay here? Okay, then sit nicely. The symbolism behind all of these different things is the question of the outside matching the inside. And I think this ties in very beautifully to the whole question of lashon hara. Very often when people speak ill of other people, it is actually something that they will do behind their back, not to their face. When it comes to Nachon Meitali, when people are nasty to other people, they do it when the other person isn't there sometimes. They speak badly about them. And that is a very big problem. That's called lashon hara. That is something that Judaism is very against on a moral level. In order to be the most honest and authentic people that we can be, as true to our purpose and to our ideology, we have to try and have, as Chazal would say, tocho kebaro. The inside be equal to the outside. Or in modern day terminology, we want transparency. Yeah, Nachon, Livia is saying hello. And we want transparency. Now, transparency at its very deepest core means that we want things to not be skin deep. And I think that's why tzara'at is an affliction that comes on the skin, whether it's the skin of people or whether it's on the skin of our clothing, the outer layer, or even the outer layer of our house. Think of it like onions, right? Like layers of onion of our outer layers, whether our outer layers is our epidermis, whether our outer layers is our clothing, what it represents to the world outside, or the outer layers are the very walls of the house. Each one of those can be afflicted by, in many ways, causing trouble for the person living within, in the skin, to in many ways say, hey, they might look great on the outside, but on the inside, they are rotten. This reminds me of the famous piece of Western literature, the portrait of Dorian Gray, where this very famous, rich, wealthy, successful socialite makes a deal with the devil in which he never gets old, and instead a picture of his that he keeps hidden in his office really shows the terrible things that are going on inside. On the outside, the portrait becomes uglier while the main person stays forever young, and that in many ways is there to reflect that even though we might be showing off the outer layer, being perfect, being friendly, being loving, being accepting, if on the inside we are rotten and we are corrupt and we are hateful and we are in many ways destructive, and we cause harm by letting that out every now and then through other people, sharing with other people, but never actually having it face the person that we actually want to confront, that itself, that lashon hara, that going around spreading rumors and causing trouble, but having a facade of always being the best friend, that is the most rotten moral conduct that Tzaraat comes to show and say, hey, now everybody knows that you are really quite horrible on the inside as well, and you need to go through a period of quarantine, in essence, to reflect and to learn. And that's why you need to have a relationship with a Kohen. The Kohen needs to visit you to make sure that you're doing well, and that you are learning the moral lessons that you need to learn. And that, I think, is a nice idea that comes forth from our parasha. And finally, I just want to share a short little vignette. If we're already talking about the epidermis, we're talking about the skin. I think today, whenever anyone talks about skin color, the first thing that comes to their mind is racism. Unfortunately, this is a theme that has afflicted humanity for the last few hundred years and really came to a head in the previous century in many ways. And I think it's very important, especially today, when there's a lot of discussion about lots of different conflicts going on in the world. Very often people like to pose them in terms of, white people versus black people, indigenous versus colonial, and all of these false libels that are often brought against the Jewish people in this fight, right? That it's white Israelis fighting against brown and indigenous Arabs or Palestinians. I think it's very important that we remind ourselves of a very important Mishnah, in many ways the most famous Mishnah. This is a piece of Second Temple late or even post-Second Temple literature written in the land of Israel, in which it says in Masechet Negaim, when it's talking all about these halachot of Tzaraat, there is actually a discussion about the skin color of Jews. And it says, Baheret Azar, if we're talking about one type of Tzaraat, which is a white patch, Nir'et Bagirmani Kiha, if it is on the skin of a German, which don't forget in the Roman Empire, the Germans were really the most northern that you could find in the streets, whether they were slaves or even just soldiers or citizens of Rome. There are very often Germans walking around who are very blonde, with blue eyes, with a very white, pale skin. Says the Mishnah, sometimes Tzaraat can actually look dark. Even though it's a white patch, it can actually look dark on the white skin of a German. Vehakeha, but if it's a dark patch, it can actually look light on the skin of a Kushi, of someone from Kush, from the sub-Saharan Africa, whether it's Nigeria or other areas of Sudan and so on and so forth. So beautifully, the Mishnah here during the Roman period is very aware of the diversity of skin colors in the Roman Empire, to a certain degree, the precursor of the Western world that we know today. And then beautifully, Rabbi Ishmael Omer, Bnei Israel ani kaparatan, the Jewish people, God bless them, harehem ke'ashkeroa. They are in the middle, lo shchorim velo levanim ela beinoniyim. And all the commentators say, what is ashkeroa? Ashkeroa is like some sort of tree, and in many ways it's a bit like olive color. In many ways, this is what the commentators say. We are neither white nor black. This is not our fight. We, in many ways, especially today, have Jews who lived in Germany, and we have Jews who lived in Ethiopia. We have Jews from all different skin colors. And today, we very much represent, and this is again a beautiful insight through the world of Negaim and Tzaraat, a view of this universality of the message of the Torah, and it is relevant regardless of skin color or ethnicity, and it is, as the famous pasuk goes, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Dvar Hashem Yerushalayim, from Yerushalayim comes the Torah for the whole world. Ki beiti beit tefillah yikareh lechol ha'amim. The house of Hashem is open to all comers from all of the nations, all of the colors. And I think it's important. This is true. All people of all colors can have their inside be different from their outside, can have their moral message be corrupted by the lies and can be corrupted by the lies. Here you go, Livia. Here, try this one. Can be corrupted by the lies of Lashon Hara, of gossip. Be'ezrat Hashem, I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Livia, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.